Hello students, I am Mrs. Divya dealing with chapter 7 evolution, and this is the 15th video. In the previous module students, we had discussed about the Hardy-Weinberg law and the equilibrium. Yes, so in this video I am going to discuss the factors which affect this Hardy-Weinberg principle. Okay, so let us see which are the factors affecting the equilibrium. So you know what is Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? It states that the allele frequencies are always stable, right? So for this stability, there are certain genetic factors which are responsible. So I had told you in the previous module, one is gene migration or the gene flow, genetic drift, mutation, genetic recombination, and natural selection. This is one of the important questions, students. In the board exams, many times this question has been repeated. It might be for 2 marks or 3 marks. What is Hardy-Weinberg law? Mention the factors affecting the law. Okay, this repeatedly it has been asked. So let us see one by one. The first one here, students, that is gene flow or gene migration. As the name says, gene flow, migration of genes. What is happening here? Genes from one population are migrating or flowing to the other population. For this, consider one example. Take A, which is a population of beetles. Okay, so all beetles here, they are genetically similar, so we can call it to be one gene pool. You know what is gene pool? Sum total of all genes. So here it is one gene pool, that is one population of beetles. Similarly, we have another population B, which is a different group of beetles, which is genetically different from the population A. Okay. Now sometimes due to some reasons, organisms, one or few organisms from one population may migrate to the other population. What is happening here? Organism is migrating. It is shifting itself from one place to other. So when the organism is shifting, migrating, what is happening actually? The genes are being transferred. The genes are also migrating. So how do we define this gene flow? The transfer of genes between two populations that differ genetically from one another. Remember here, these are two different varieties, right? So transfer of genes between two populations that differ genetically from one another is considered to be gene flow. Okay, so what happens actually? Why we are considering it as a factor now? When the genes are migrating from one place to another, what happened here, students? The gene frequency of this changed, right? So because of this migration, it might be immigration or emigration. Understand the terms. Migration is of two types. Immigration, entering inside. Emigration is going out of one population. So here what is happening actually? Into a population A, there is immigration of one gene into the population A. At the same moment, from population B, there is emigration of beetles from the population B. Did you understand the terms? So because of this emigration and emigration, what has happened now? Gene frequency of both the populations has changed, right? So because of gene flow, the gene frequency changes. So the rate of gene frequency depends on the rate of gene flow also. Got my point? So Hardy-Weinberg suggested that there is always constancy in the gene frequency unless these factors act upon the populations, right? So if there is no gene flow, there will be no evolution taking place. But if there is transfer of genes, then what happens? There is change in the gene frequency that may lead to variations. Okay, so that may lead to evolution. Hope you understood. Coming to the next one. Another example I'll quote you now. So here you have a population of beetles, right? So there is another variety of beetles in this one population. So consider there are two varieties of beetles in this population. Okay. So here in this population might be accidentally due to some calamities, natural calamities, of one or few organisms from one species, they may die. That is, elimination of one particular type has occurred. Okay. So now what happened? The gene frequency of this changed. Yes or no? See here, if you count them, you can see there are 4 beetles here, 5 brown beetles. So if these 4 blue beetles, due to any reasons, any natural calamities, if 1 or 2 die in them, what happened now? There is a drastic change in their frequency. Only 2 are remaining, right? So the frequency of this gene has now changed completely. Okay, so this random change in the frequency of alleles in a population, so this, remember this, it is purely by chance. Nobody has killed it. Naturally it has taken place by chance, accidental. Okay, so this change is said to be genetic drift. Drift means what? Change. Okay, so now and another important thing is this genetic drift generally occurs in smaller populations. It is not that it occurs only in smaller populations. It is one of the important evolutionary mechanisms. Okay, although it occurs in all populations generally, but its effects are most marked in very small populations. You can see its effect in smaller populations mainly. Okay, for this I can give you another example now. Imagine there are 1,000 insects or butterflies. Okay, so there are 1,000 there are 1,000 butterflies. Among those 1,000 butterflies, 500 butterflies are white in color and 500 butterflies are red in color. So what happened now? The gene frequency of white butterflies is 50% and that of red butterflies is 50%, right? Now due to some, as I told you, natural calamities, something happened and 2 butterflies, just imagine 2 butterflies out of those 500, they died. So now what about the gene frequency of this white butterflies? Has it changed? No, because the amount of death there, reduction is very negligible, right? Might be in 0 points variation might occur. So that doesn't affect the population much, right? So this is in a larger population. Now what happens in a smaller population? Imagine 10 butterflies are there, 5 are white and 5 are red. Okay, so out of this 2 white butterflies died. So now what happened? How many are remaining? 3 white butterflies, 5 red butterflies. So what happened? What about the gene frequencies now? Initially out of 10 it was equally distributed, there was 50-50%, but now only death of 2 butterflies took place, but that drastically changed the gene frequency of white. It is almost reduced to 60%. Yes, so that is why we can say that this genetic drift, it affects the smaller populations mainly. Okay, there is no much change seen in the larger populations due to genetic drift. So this effect, what I described now, the drastic changes, random changes in the frequency in the smaller populations, this was first described by scientist Sewell Wright in 1931. Hence this is also called as Sewell Wright effect. Okay, So what is civil right effect, students? 1 mark question. It is nothing but genetic drift. Random change in the frequency of alleles in a population purely by chance, called as genetic drift, was first described by Sewall Wright. Hence it is called as Sewall Wright effect. So one good example for this genetic drift I can give you here. Okay. So think you have a huge a population of human beings here. You can see some human beings are pink, some are yellow, some are green, some are blue. So if you observe this number of humans here, how much is the gene frequency of them? You can see here it is 25% pink, 25% yellow, 25% green and 25% blue. Yes. So now if from this population some 1 or 2 humans, they get separated out. Okay, they move to some other place by chance, some or due to some reasons they have come out of that population and they have moved away to some new place, to some new geographical area. Okay, so here you can see 2 green and 2 blue have moved now. They have been isolated from their population. Now next in the upcoming generations, what happens? The gene frequencies here, it was 25% when you compare all this, 25% green, 25% blue. But here in this population, what is the gene frequency of these? It is 50% green, 50% blue. Am I right? So the gene frequency has changed drastically from this original population to this drifted population, right? Next in the future generations, you see here you can observe there is increase in the population of this green and blue equally. They are getting increased, right? But here you can find that these pink and yellow humans are nowhere found in this population. So their gene frequency has changed. Here it is 0% of them. Here it is 25% of them, right? But in this population, if it continues in the same way, you can see the same gene frequency of those. Hope you have understood. So now this population which has drifted, students, this green and blue humans who have shifted or moved to other place, they have formed their own population here, and this group of humans who have shifted, now they are called as the founders because they have moved to a new place. They have set their own kingdom there, right? So they have come out from one population and they have moved to other place, forming their own new population, students. So this is, they are now called as the founders, and this phenomenon is said to be founder effect. This is also one of the important questions, remember. So what is founder effect? I'll explain you once again. Sometimes what happens is, if the organisms, they drift or they move to some other isolated places, right? So here the original drifted population, this is the drifted population, it becomes the founder, and this effect is called as founder effect. Okay, so what is this, students? Founder effect. Remember this. What is founder effect? It is nothing but due to genetic drift. Okay, so another example I can quote here. We can, that is why we can say genetic drift is also an evolutionary force. Okay, so what is this bottleneck effect? This in some textbooks they have mentioned. It is not there in your NCERT textbook, so don't worry about this, but just for your understanding I am telling you, in some textbooks they have mentioned the difference between the two. That is how similar they are, bottleneck effect and the founder effect. See here, bottleneck effect. it is just a probability like thing. Okay, so see here, in one bottle they have kept so many marbles are there, of yellow, green and red color marbles. So this can be considered to be one original population. Now, as the neck of this bottle is narrow, right? So if you tilt the bottle and if you want to move some of the marbles to another bottle, so what happens? If you want only red marbles to move down, is it possible? No. It is purely by chance, right? So randomly, any of those colored marbles, they may be transferred into this bottle, right? So the chances might be that all, if you want only four marbles to fall into this jar, the chances might be that all the four marbles falling might be red, all might be yellow, or all might be green, or sometimes two might be red, two might be green. Okay, so any chance it may fall. So this marbles now, the small population of marbles, now these are the founders. Okay, so now next, this phenomenon will be called as the founder effect. Understood? So this founder effect is just like a chance factor, as I told you. It is nothing but a probability. Okay, so the same thing in the founder effect. Here this is the parent population. So a few of them from the parent population organisms, they may migrate to any other area where they start multiplying. Okay, so in the next future generations, the gene frequency might have completely changed. Okay, so this is one of the important factor, genetic drift. Next is gene mutations. What is gene mutations, students? See, in all the cells you can find, they consist of the genetic material, hereditary material, right? So where the DNA always consists of the nucleotide base pairs, right? So you know, adenine always forms a base pair with the thymine, and guanine forms the pair with the cytosine. Sometimes might be due to some factors, there might be a change in the pairing, base pairs, in somewhere in any one small what nucleotide sequence, there might be a change. So here guanine has paired with adenine. So this is called as mutation, students. So what is mutation? We actually speak about sudden change, where that change actually takes place in these small minute nucleotides. Very small changes, right? Very small mutation, but that leads to a very huge difference. Okay, so this mutation may take place at any point in the nucleotide base pairing. Okay, so this changes in that chemical structure of a gene. This changes in the chemical structure of a gene is said to be gene mutation. Okay, or you can also call it as mutations, actually can also be called as spontaneous change, permanent change in the genetic makeup of an individual. Understood? What are mutations? Spontaneous, permanent change in the genetic makeup of an individual. Okay, so these are also called as point mutations. Point in the sense change in a very small part, such as one base pairing, that is called as point mutation. Hope point mutation you remember, you have studied in principles of inheritance and variation. So how does it affect the Hardy-Weinberg principle, students? That is, how does it affect the gene frequency? When mutation takes place, what happens? Variations are formed in the gene pool, right? So this variation in the gene pool may lead to change in the gene frequency. Okay, so gene mutations add up, or we can say it is one of the raw materials for evolution. So which was actually discovered by whom? Hugo de Vries. Okay, so this is one of the factor. Next, coming to genetic recombination. So in sexually reproducing organisms, generally during gametogenesis, you can see there are homologous chromosomes, right, which show crossing over, that is, which pair with each other for the exchange of genetic material, that is, crossing over takes place, because of which there is exchange in the genetic material, right? So this exchange in the genetic material leads to new combinations of genes. So in turn, this is called as genetic recombination. So what happens due to genetic recombination? It results in new phenotypes. So when gene combination has changed, the genotype of it varies. So this change in the genotype brings about or alters the phenotypic expression of the organism. So this is also one of the important factors. Next, the foremost thing, that is natural selection. So it is one of the fundamental mechanism. It is the basic mechanism actually which operates the evolution, mechanism of evolution. So this was explained by Darwin, and almost all scientists, they supported this theory of Darwin, that is natural selection. Okay, so here, as you have told, they have shown different genetic variations, as well as natural selection has been included in this theory. Okay, so natural selection increases the frequency of certain genotypes. So we can say it is a connecting link between the changes in the environment and genetic variations of species attempting to survive and reproduce. How, children? According to Darwin, the nature selects the best fit ones, the better ones who can survive in the particular environment, right? So there is a link between these two, that is, as the environmental conditions change, variations take place in the organism for their better adaptability. So that is natural selection. So it encourages only those genes which are favorable, right? Which assure highest degree of adaptive efficiency, which can adapt well. So that leads to the formation of new species, students. This was the natural selection, what he suggested, right? So because of the environmental changes, genetic variations are occurring continuously, right? So that leads to betterment in the organisms for their better adaptability, later on slowly leading to the formation of new species. So this formation of new species is called as what? Speciation. Remember this. One more question. What is speciation? Formation of new species, right? So these were the factors, children. Hope you have understood the factors which affect what? Hardy-Weinberg principle. Next, coming to types of natural selection. So there are actually three types of selection process. So what is natural selection? Nature selects the better suitable ones. In what way the nature selects them? So this process of selection, it operates in all the population, students, and in different manner. Okay, so let us see what are those different types of selections. One is stabilizing selection, directional selection, and disruptive selection. Hope you are understanding my point. Nature goes on selecting the better suitable organisms, but that adaptability or that selection type may vary from one place to another, from one condition, environmental condition to another, from one organism to another. So let us see what are these. Okay, so this is also important question, children. Types of natural selections. So this, most of the time the graph has been appeared in your NEET exams also. Okay, and this might be also be asked in your board exams. So one example I can quote you here, that is, the plant height if you take. Okay, so how can we measure the height of a plant? We can say that when you compare the height of the plant, you can say one is tall, the other one is dwarf, right? So how can you plot the graph of it? So generally, whenever you are plotting the graph, the extreme ones are placed at the periphery. So at one extreme end is the dwarf ones, shorter ones. At the other end, it is the what? Taller ones. Okay. What is this line here? It shows the mean value. Here, what do you mean by the mean values, children? Average ones. Got my point? So, average ones. So, this curve of the population, this is the normal curve of the population we show generally. Okay, any population you want to plot the graph, this is the way we are going to plot the graph. This is called as the bell-shaped graph or bell-shaped curve. Okay. Now what happens in stabilizing selection? So as the name says, stabilizing in the sense balancing, making stable. So the populations are tried to make stable. How the stability is maintained? By eliminating the extreme forms, extreme phenotypes. Okay, so this selection, it favors only the intermediate variations. So here you can see this is the normal graph what we can plot, but the graph of the stabilizing selection is like this. So what is this? This is the mean place, right? So here you can see the mean value is emerging into highest peak. So how this happens? When you consider short plants. So these short plants, they may not get the sunlight properly because as they are short, the taller ones will be covering them. So they may not get the sunlight properly. So that may affect their growth and they may die. At the same time, the taller ones, if you take tall plants, extremely tall plants, they may be more susceptible to wind damage. So they may also not survive continuously. So in this cases, in this condition, such conditions, okay, when these variations are present, any character children you take, they show variations, right? You consider eye color of an organism, human being, you have black eyed, brown eyed, blue eyed. So there are variations in each character. In the same way, one might be larger, smaller and medium. So these are the three variations what you can find, important main variations. So in certain cases, some cases we can see that the extremes, they cannot survive. They are not better fit for the environment. So during these conditions, what happens? What will the nature do? It will combine the two, okay, and it will form a new species, that is, which is better fit. So here shorter ones are not fit, they cannot survive. Taller ones also cannot survive. So what does the nature do? Nature will select only the plants with a medium height. Okay, so such selection, it reduces variation. So here there is no chance of variation taking place. Why? Because extremes are not there. It is balanced by mixing up the two. So when this combining or mixing take place, variation cannot happen. So generally here in this condition, the rate of evolution is less. Okay, and what is the graph here? Here there is peak and the mean level. Okay, so this is stabilizing selection. So each of the graph, children, refer NCERT textbook for the graph. You can easily plot there. Okay, seeing that you can practice that graph from the NCERT textbook. So for NEET exams, they may give you the graph and they may ask you which type of graph is this, or for the board exams they may ask you to explain any of these different selection types. So next one you have directional selection. This is also called as progressive. That is progression, increase at one level. Okay, so in this selection, either the smallest or the largest individual of population, they will be selected and they produce more of offsprings. Okay, so here the mean is not selected. The mean or the average ones are not selected. So what happens? What type of a graph we get? Here the mean is shifted. That is, the graph is shifted from the mean place. So this is the original population, the graph showing original population, right? But what has happened here? There is a shift from the original population. Okay, so this is the population after natural selection has taken place here. So many good examples we can give for this. One is the giraffes. When you consider the example evolution which has taken place in giraffe as explained by Lamarck. So here you can see the ancient time giraffes, which were just similar to horses, they could not survive, right? Because they could not reach the leaves and they couldn't get food, so they died. So this is why at one extreme end, right? The smaller ones. So this is at one extreme end, this couldn't survive. Okay, then next you have the medium sized here. Slowly the medium necked giraffe, they were found and they also couldn't survive for many days. Why? Because even they couldn't reach the leaves sufficiently, so even they died. So what happened now, children? One extreme variety has died here, the other mean variety also dies. But which one is selected here? The long necked giraffes, they could reach the leaves for food, so what happened? They survived. So what has happened here? Only one of the extreme variety has been selected, not the both. Only one extreme variety is selected, right? So such selection, it will increase or decrease the mean size. Either there might be increase or there might be decrease, but never the mean size. Then a very good example of industrial melanism, where the dark peppered moth was selected by natural selection. This is also one of the example, right? So this is the original population which consisted of light peppered moth, okay, white winged peppered moth. But later on, because of industrial revolution, when lichens died, you could see that the dark moth, they survived. So there was a shift in the graph. Okay, so this is directional or progressive selection, you can call it as. So you can also give the example of DDT resistance there. Okay, so that is also one of the good examples. Next one, you have disruptive selection, students. So this is also called as diversifying selection. What do you mean by this? In this selection, the individuals at extreme of the trait, they contribute more offsprings when compared to the mean value. So here it acts to eliminate rather than favor the intermediate type. Okay, so here the mean is not considered, the intermediates do not survive, but only the extremes survive here. Both the extremes are favored. So in what type of selections you can see this? It is just nothing but opposite to stabilizing selection. It is opposite to the stabilizing selection. Okay, so what type of a curve you can find here, children? It is called as the bimodal curve or two-peaked curve. So this is the original population what you have, and at both the ends, at both extreme ends, you can find the curve. Okay, so this is two-peaked curve. So here generally the intermediates are actually a disadvantage. So after natural selection, here you can see the original population is disrupted, but extremes are selected. So what happens due to this? When extremes are selected, they don't combine with each other. They are totally two opposite varieties. So because of this, two separate groups are formed. Yes or no? So like this, many such groups might be formed, separate groups might be formed because they don't combine with each other. So these separate groups, they later evolve into new species. So this is how new species might be formed because of this type of natural selection. So these three are very important, children. Hope you have understood those types of natural selection. So you have to explain what is that type actually. Might be the stabilizing one or the disruptive or the directional one. What is it and how it occurs? That much you have to explain. So now we have almost come to the end. The concept of modern synthetic theory, as I had been explaining now, right? So it actually mainly says these are the three factors which might be responsible for evolution, that is genetic variation, natural selection and isolation. So now we have studied genetic variation. Don't ask me where we studied genetic variation. What is genetic variation, children? Which was explained by whom? Hardy Weinberg. Hardy Weinberg said that changes in the gene frequency leads to evolution. So if that gene frequency has to change, certain factors are responsible. What are those? Gene flow, then gene genetic drift, gene mutations, genetic recombinations. So these itself are the genetic variations, children. So variation in the genes might be occurring due to migration of genes, it might be due to genetic drift, it might be due to mutations. So this is the genetic variation, and finally these genetic variations lead to natural selection. So these are the two concepts you have studied now, which favor what? Modern synthetic theory, right? Another last one, what was explained by modern synthetic theory was that another important thing is isolation, children. So you know who were the architects of this modern synthetic theory? Many scientists, as I have mentioned earlier, Huxley, then Dobzhansky, Civil Rights, Stebbins, all of them, they gave a, by combining all the different theories of different scientists, they came to one conclusion where they included it is the genetic variations are responsible, and they said that Darwin's natural selection is also one of the key point, and another thing is isolation is also responsible for this variation, for this evolution. What type of isolation? What is this isolation actually? So isolation in the sense what? Separation. So separation of one population. Okay, so there is one common population present, and from this one population, if the organisms get separated into smaller units, into subunits, right? So that leads to isolation, and then that leads to origin of new species. How? See here one example. So you have a group of beetles here. So due to some reasons they may get separated and they may form two different groups there, two different populations. So now what happened here? Further, if you see, this population A is now totally different from the population B. Initially both were in the same population, but now they are not interbreeding with each other. So they are completely isolated groups. So they develop into new different populations and the gene frequency changes in them. Okay, so this isolation also acts as a key factor for evolution. I can quote another example here, children. Imagine there is a family staying in India. Okay, so from that family, right? one or two people from that family, they migrate to some other countries, to different countries. Okay, so they get married there, they go on, their what generation goes on increasing there. Okay, so their family goes on increasing there. So now what happens? Initially, think in India, there are two parents, a father, a mother. They are having 5 children. Okay, so out of those 5 children, three of them are present in India. Two of them go and settle in Australia, right? So now these children of them, who are present in India, they get married, they produce children, and they grow old. Then their next generation arrives. Then 3 or 4 generation goes on arising now. Then the people who are in Australia, they are not in touch with these people. Okay, they have no contact with these people, right? So they also get married there, and they have kids, they have grandchildren. So again, their generations also, their members also go on increasing. After 10 generations, now what is this actually? They were actually who? They were brothers. There were 5 brothers. 3 are in India, 2 are in Australia. After 10 generations, children, after 10 generations, imagine if they are not in touch. Okay, if there is no contact between them. Actually, they were relatives. But after 10 generations, will you come to know that you have any relatives in Australia? No. They have developed into a new family. They have developed into a new what? In one another isolated place, they have developed into a new family. So this is what here evolution of another generation has taken place in some other area, geographical area, that is called as isolation, that is due to isolation. Okay, so this is one of the factors, right? So now this as I told you, each group, it may develop into a set of new traits. So here variations may occur in these groups also, so that leads to evolutionary changes and towards the formation of new species. So due to this evolutionary changes, new species arise. Okay, so that is what speciation occur. Variations take place in these generations. So here, this isolating mechanism, children, it might be mainly important due to two reasons. One is geographical isolation may take place. Another one is reproductive isolation may take place. What is this geographical isolation? So it is when two populations, they get separated into 2 or more groups due to geographical barriers. That is, as I told you, Indians, they moving on to Australia. There is a huge barrier between the two places. Yes, so which might be the geographical barriers? Forest might be there. So from one place, the organisms may get shifted to some other forest. So oceans might be the barriers between two lands. There might be a huge water body which separates the two groups of organisms. Rivers might be the barriers, islands, mountains, right? So because of this geographical barriers, they may get separated. So when they get separated, when they shift to different geographical area, there the environmental conditions will be different. So because of this, though it is one common species, because of the environmental factors, because of that isolation into two different geographical areas, they may develop different structures, children. So mutations might occur in them, and that may lead to recombinations, and that may lead to new varieties. Okay, so now each separated population, it develops a distinct gene pool. So now they develop into new different species. So they will not be able to interbreed. Another classic example, very good example, is of Darwin's finches. you have studied, where you have seen the Darwin's finches in Galapagos Island, right? What is this Galapagos Island, children? It is a group of small islands. So in each of those different islands, we find finches, right? So they differ from each other among themselves only. They differ. So they differ in their beak size, in their color, whole in the size of the birds, in their food habits, etc. Okay, so it is one set of islands only, but there itself there are small barriers, and there itself you find so many different types of finches. So that is one of the good examples. So this geographical isolation is one of the uh, reasons why evolution might have occurred, right? Another such mechanism you find is reproductive isolation. So reproductive isolation in this sense, children, it is because of the change which is brought about by genetic variations. So genetic material, changes in the genetic material might take place. So that leads to change in the gene pool, and also that may lead to the changes in the structure of the genital organs also, right? So all these changes is because of isolation. Okay, so according to modern synthetic theory, it is these three main what factors which lead to evolution. So this is said to be the mechanism of evolution, how actually evolution has taken place. Children, it is due to genetic variation, it is due to natural selection, and due to isolation of organisms, new varieties have been developing gradually, which has led to evolution. Okay, so hope you have understood the concept. So we have studied many different theories, students. So read them all, understand the concept, right? So the next module we'll discuss about we'll have a brief account about the different geological time scales in which different organisms have occurred. So thank you very much.